Double the Raidraptor, double the regional top? Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We have your remote regional breakdown for you today. And I do want to say that it's about time that we see the turnover that we've been waiting to see in Raidraptors, especially double Raidraptor action out here. You know, you don't really, at most, I think we've seen one Raidraptor show up every week. But to have two managed to top the same regional, and hilariously enough, they had to play each other round one of this event. Like, you think that that's crazy? One managed to make third, one managed to make fifth, and the fact that they had to play each other and the fifth place had to overcome the round one loss to climb up, I think that that's a crazy story to be had here. So you have two Raidraptor duelists sitting here in your top cut. Now, your other half of the tournament, unfortunately, Snake Eyes Fire King is going to be the top competitor for this deck, locking down a majority of the top slots, and that's not all that surprising, I feel like, at this point. You know, Fire has been pretty strong. I feel like the deck has been pretty much figured out at this point. So we're going to continue to kind of navigate around the treacherous waters that is Fire to kind of see, you know, how's this meta going to evolve? Now, what were our challengers besides Raidraptors? We had one purely duelist actually playing a Dark World package in the deck, actually managed to fucking overcome a lot of this meta, which about time, actually. We also had Rescue Ace as well. Good stuff to actually see purely, and Rescue Ace and Branded. You know, I still miss the days when Rescue Ace was here. I mean, the set 4 combo, very powerful, but so power crept at this point. It's kind of crazy. Let's pass on over to deck list. Ho, 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 what do we have here? Basics of Fire. I remember just a week ago, people told me, Arvada, why would we play that card? Well, it is a negate, and if you haven't learned anything about modern era Yu-Gi-Oh, the more negates that you end up having, the safer your deck actually can feel. Gosh, this card is so broken, man. Double Pobbler has become absolutely normal at this point. I feel like if you're trying to play 3 Pobbler, you're just asking for a consistency nightmare. Because, like, double at least ensures, you know, you have the triple bonfire to toggle in and get everything that you actually want. Arvada now gives you the negate. Double Kirin's become pretty normal. And then the one Garunix, the one Ponix is also very normal. You also only see the one Fire King Island, the one Sanctuary. A lot of people have been boarding out the Sanctuary, going second, which kind of is understandable, honestly. And then, of course, Circle. I feel like Circle is optional. It depends on what you want to do, all right? Like, Circle ensures that you're able to kind of set things up so that you can kind of dodge along the way, but it's just that you're also going to get a lot of value off of Talents. I think right now that Talents is one of the most insane cards that you can actually see. This or Anti-Spell Fragrance is an interesting discussion here. I do want to say that I like the idea of this card, just being able to strictly slow down your opponent, because the minute they see 2 summons, they're done. And you can hold this too, you know. You can wait for a committed Ash into a Pobbler, flip this, and you kind of just steal the game away from them. So that's actually something a little bit crazy. I also have to give a shout out here to our second place duelist. Please do check out their YouTube channel. I'll have it linked down below for those of you that are always kind of curious about this. Show some love. You know, we have to support the content creators out here that do this. That's why we try to source everything from where we can. All right. What else we got back here? This is our third place Raidraptor list. Now, you are actually pretty hand trapped out of your mind here. Like, I do want to say that I think seeing the pure amount of hand traps here forces you into a position that you can't really avoid. Like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 hand traps in the main deck, just so that you can kind of overcome maybe not like the greatest humps in the world, but like this is all just collateral for the format. You don't have a choice. Now, We are playing the Bird of Perfection for the additional normal summon extension. This feels, I think, pretty normal for Raidraptors. I'm not the most well-versed in this deck. I just know that Mr. Rising Rebellion Falcon being unaffected and gets the ability to basically detach 3 and then start copying other pseudo effects turns this deck into something a little bit more crazy. And then the Arsenal Falcon extension plays with this to, be a stepping stone. It's pretty good. And where is he? Looking at this entire extra deck, you're going to notice one very interesting thing. Where's the Kali King Yuga? A lot of the people that were looking at these builds and talking about them were very, very determined to say that Kali King Yuga is the way to go. Like most decks right now, especially with Raidraptors, still kind of being figured out for what they want to be. I think either you can play Duo King and you can play without Duo King. Having that ability for multiple decisions on which build is going to be the more optimal is actually very important. All right, when you're presented with multiple facts to be able to go, hey, maybe this is the more optimized build. Okay, what else we got going on back here? This is purely. Okay, well, this is I think is the most interesting thing about this list. We're actually playing Dark World cards. Mr. Overking Broken Man himself out here. Well, adding back a level 7 or lower, Mr. Silva back to your hand. So basically what ends up happening with this deck is you can go ahead, toss down a Silva in combination with this, bounce a Silva back to your hand, and every one of these little Silvas ends up being free little value, so you can kind of do your thing along the way. Also, we've all learned that this little card gets to add a level 5 or lower, or excuse me, level 5 or higher, so you can go toggle for the Silva, and then you start this little loop-de-loop-de-loop-de-loop of free little value, so that you can kind of go ahead and start putting more monsters on the field. And then suddenly, guess what? Your extra deck, you get access to the Soldier of Chaos. I do think that, this build did not run into any of the scarier stuff along the way. High Horus package. We've seen how stupid good that can actually be. And this build also had access to Dimensional Fissure, and it also has Gravekeeper's Inscription in here as well. I do think that Gravekeeper's Inscription is a very solid pick. The only complaint is it has to be at the start of main phase 1, which literally screws up because you can't pot a Prosperity into it, and you have to see it in your first 5-6 opening cards, or else you're not going to get any real value off of this. Card's very strong, but they put such a condition on it that it makes it, I don't know, you have to kind of rely on things like this format in order to kind of get the game going, at least to a point of you don't get blown out. But yeah, this is your purely innovations for this event. I actually like what I'm seeing. It's definitely more interesting than I expected. And then we also have Hello. This is our other take on the Raidraptor stuff. Now, looking at this, I do see we are on 43 cards, which actually is fine. Shaving off 2 from the other build, which is good. You do see the cross-out designators down here, and you still do not see Duo King Kali Yuga down here. This build also chose to play the Evil Swarm Nightmare instead of, I believe it was Baguska that we saw in the other list, which is actually pretty cool. If you're diversifying your option trees out here, and you're like, hey, Evil Swarm Nightmare versus Baguska, you kind of pick your poison on which line you want to go down. And it does appear that either way, the level 4s are in this deck are all going to be dark anyway, so the only real, even the Samorg here is going to be dark. So congratulations, you were able to make the Nightmare and accomplish what you need to do along the way without probably punishing yourself quite so much. So 2 very similar Raidraptor decks entering into the meta competition out here, showcasing and going, hey, just because the way that the meta looks right now, we have options to try out different things. You don't always need the Duo King Kali Yuga, even though it looks very tempting. You'll do that with that, and these builds have to go very hand trap heavy right now. in order to kind of compete. Well, that's the format for you. Love to see us. Please, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.